Welcome back. It's Saturday, August 21st, and it is a stormy morning here in Pullman. It is finally, at least for now, cooling off a little bit. It feels like fall. As you can tell, like I promised last time, the Fall Rhapsody blanket by Nana's Crafty Home is back, and that will remain my background for the video for probably the next 5-6 months or so. I don't have anything to share that I'm wearing today, just normal stuff on this Saturday morning. So I'm just gonna go ahead and jump into FOs. So I had paused on my Traveling Seasons Afghan. Those are the different blocks each month for each of the 4 seasons. But today I have 2 to show you, 2 finished squares, I should say, because I haven't finished the blanket. But they're both summer squares. And this is a collaboration that is done between Lion Brand and Whistle and Wool. They're like hosting the year-long make-along, but then there are different designers who have created the blocks for each month. So I have, is it May and June square, I think? So this is the first one. I believe this is May's block. It's this like ripply, wavy pattern, and these are all crochet. I think there's a knit. Lion Brand does a knit one too, but this year they do different themes. So can't remember what the knit one was. I decided to do the crochet one though because I love season themed things. And then I'm pretty sure this is the July square. No, sorry, June. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It is. I don't know what you call it when it uses like lace to create a design, but it is a sun, like a rising sun with rays. And these are all done. I have videos on my channel with more information about this series, but essentially I dyed the yarn that I'm using for each season. And so I'm using 4 different colors inspired by the season themselves, and like a memory or some kind of representation of that season is what I use when I was dyeing the color. So I went for a more muted palette, and this is my summer color. I also have another pumpkin. This is the Autumn Gold Pumpkin by Wool and Knits. And this is knit. The one I shared last time, they were crochet pumpkins. And this one is knit. It is pretty big. Like, it's probably the biggest pumpkin I've made. But I basically knocked it out the day after the pattern released because I wanted to. I did nothing else except work on this. And I decided to go with like a more non-traditional, more of like the squash, the 2-tone colored squashes that you can see that are like green and yellow. And I found these colors at Michael's, and the yellow is Tweed. I think it's Charisma by Loops and Threads. And the Tweed doesn't show up as well on here because it's just such small. You can kind of see it there. And then I had enough of each color to actually, I'll be able to make a reverse version of this pumpkin so that this part will be yellow and this part will be green. And I've started on that, but I have been working on that on my lunch at work, so I have left that in my office and I don't have it to share today. But it, you know, it's a flat version of this. So I love this pumpkin. I love the texture. When I saw the way the dip stitches were being used for the ribbing, I knew that this was going to be made as soon as it came out. So did I have time to make it? In theory, no, because I have a million other things to do, but I did it anyway because I love this pattern. So I have least one more plan, and then I bought, the pattern originally calls for using Hue and Me. I think that's a Lion Brand yarn. And I ended up, they had a spinning wheel sale last weekend, and I ordered some colors that I think would work together so that I could make more pumpkins. And then I have like I'll call it a half finished object again, because I have a sock done. And this is my Play on the Fruity Feet socks by Drops Design. I'm calling it my dragon fruit socks. But I have one that I didn't weave my ends in. I just bound it off as quickly as possible, honestly, because I wanted to start this. So I have one sock officially done. I think I was on the heel of the last podcast because I was commenting on the interesting way that the yarn was working up between holding it single up here and holding it double for the heel, and how it affected the stripes. So continued with the yarn down the sock, and then switched back to the green for my toe. The toe was done a bit different than I have done before, so that was kind of interesting. I'm not 100% sure I did it right, but it looks like a toe, so, and it fits well. The socks that I've made in the past have usually ended up being bigger, except for maybe one. But this actually felt like it fit really well. I did not try it on until I was done because I didn't want to. So, but we have a sock. It has some pretty wavy work at the top. I don't know what you want to call that. And then it's just straight stockinette. And then I did a heel flap because that's what the pattern called for, and I was just following along while I'm learning sock instructions still. I've kind of just been following the patterns. Heel flap and gusset, which is something I've done before, and then I just kept moving on to the foot, and then it told me at what length to switch to my contrast, and then finished it off. So there are some parts about the pattern that was a little confusing to me, but I was able to stumble through it enough because I'd done a few other socks and kind of knew what to expect. So I kind of just filled in the gaps with what I knew in places that I was confused. So overall, it went well. I know I should cast on the second sock, but also it has a pumpkin on it right now, so I need to get more interchangeable needles, because right now I just have basically enough cables to do two sets of needles, but someday. And that's all I have for FOs this week, because my main whips are kind of bigger. I will say right now that my summer crochet top is kind of, I don't know if it's on permanent hiatus, but I have not touched it since the last podcast, so I don't have it to show because it's in the same exact spot as it was last time. So that is that. Furls, and that's where I bought the yarn that I was running out of. They just moved to Texas, and they mentioned that they were going to have some stuff making a return soon, and I'm hoping that means that I'll be able to stock up on the red DK, because then I might actually try to finish it and have it be an FO instead of languishing. But I have my tidings to you, and I can't remember if I said this last time, but we figured out that we are officially halfway done. Let me make sure I have the right side here. This is by Amy Gunderson, and it's part of the Jimmy Bean's 2020 craft event. Sorry, I'm trying to hold this in a way that it'll cooperate. It's all tangled up, and I don't want it to fall off the needles. Get that over here. So we have enough of the brown this time. I think I only had a couple rows into this like ribbing, the fake ribbing, because it's just alternating colors last time. But now we're on the next section with this pretty chocolate brown color. And these colors look so pretty together. Yeah. I'm excited to see how this blocks up. This was the project where I realized I have been doing my yarn overs wrong in knitting. I do them like in crochet, and go figure, they're different, or they should be different, because they don't look anything like what they should if you yarn over like you do in crochet when you knit. So the first couple sections of that scarf will not be as lacy as the rest of them, but you live and you learn, and it'll be interesting still to see how it blocks up. Just plowing through this today because I'm already at my last whip. I'm trying really hard not to go overboard, because this time of year I want to make all the things. In fact, I will be doing a test here shortly, and then I have, well, I'll talk about that later, but this is my Superstitious Pullover by Michael Shawn. It is my Halloween / fall sweater, and I'm really trying to get this cleared up. Well, it's not realistic to say by the end of the month, because that won't happen. It is already the 21st, but I'm trying to keep full speed ahead on what I have. So last time I was in between the witches and this next chart, or I might have just been starting the chart, and it's upside down. I'm sorry, but I don't want to loosen the needles, so I have my witches, and then I combined 2 charts for this next row. So I have the bat, it's all bunched up, but a broom is right next to the bat here, and then I have some text that says spooky along here. And then, oh, there's the broom. There's a good one of the broom. So that's the broom, the bat, spooky, and this little, like just spacer type of thing that's part of the spooky chart. And then I'm now starting the next chart, which is another round of the web. So like up here, it'll be more of the cobweb. And then I think there's a chunk of that before it splits off for the sleeves, and then I think that will be the last chart I do. I don't think I'm going to do the hocus pocus that's like on the body. I think I want to have just the yoke be what has the color work, and then I'll have the rest of it be stockinette. But I'm really liking it so far. I think my color choices have been pretty good. I was trying to make a lot of colors work in this project, and I was worried about finding a background that would make all of them pop, and the green does get a little lost in the teal depending on what lighting it's in, but like right now I feel like the lighting is making that green stand out pretty well. So let's see. Yeah, I don't want to turn it too much because I don't want to lose anything, but I'm really enjoying it. But it's making me realize that it probably won't be done when I want it to be done, but that's okay. So the reason that I am so eager to try and get my Sanderson sweater, sorry, that's the old name, my Superstitious Pullover done, is because I've decided to participate in some make-alongs that I don't normally do. I usually just kind of let them pass, but really, fall is my favorite time to make things for, fall and Halloween, and I think I said that in the last video because I talked about the knit along. It's not a mystery knit along, a knit along by Amba O'Brien. They recently announced on their Ravelry and I think their Instagram what the shawl pattern was going to look like. It's called the Betwixt shawl, and it's this really pretty combination of mosaic and lace knitting, and I've never done mosaic knitting. I imagine it's just color work. I don't love the look of mosaic knitting, but I think it's still a really pretty shawl, and the the thought process that was explained behind it was really cool. So I think I still want to participate in the knit along. And that's the one that I dyed the set of, let's see, it was 12 mini skeins and 1 full skein. So I'm still thinking that I probably will participate in that one, but I'm also going to participate in the Lift Your Spirits Mystery Crochet Along by Mandobug. And my yarn just arrived the other night for it because I don't have, fingering weight isn't something that I really carry in my stash. I'm starting to carry it more and more now, but it's still something that I don't really have a lot of, so it's ghost themed, and that's all we really know about it. There's going to be some beadwork involved, which is another reason why I wanted to sign up for this mystery crochet along, because I've never done beadwork with either knit or crochet, and I thought it would be a good time or a good opportunity to play with that. And the designer recommended that the yarn should be more of like a semi-solid or a, you know, pretty solid, either tonal or semi-solid yarn. And so I went with, there was like a hand dyer, or geez, an indie, words today. There was an indie dyer that I don't know if it was necessarily a collaboration with, but the designer recommended a specific yarn of theirs. And this time around I just couldn't justify purchasing the indie dyer yarn, and I would love to, but I decided to go for a more like now I'm blanking on the word, box brand, but I don't know if that's the word. So I'm doing a stroll fingering in the pearlescent tonal, and that is what this looks like. I didn't want just like white or bare yarn, so I liked this one because it's like, it's definitely more cream than white, because I don't know, white yarn, I imagine they have to bleach it or something to get it truly white, but it's more like a cream. And then it's, well, it looks very much kind of pearly, like that off-white, but then it has different like grays in it, but it's still very much like the same color, but just a slight variation. And I've really been digging that kind of look recently. So I thought that would be pretty. There's 2 sizes to the pattern, a small and a large. And it's described that the small is like a little shawlette that you would need a pin to clasp. And then the large one was like a super huge blanket shawl. And I need to make myself wear shawls more because I want to make them and I enjoy making them, but I don't really wear them. But I don't think I would wear either of those sizes, so I'm going to attempt, because I'm much more familiar and more comfortable with modifying crochet. The large called for 5 skeins, which is also why I just couldn't justify the hand dyed. But I went with 2 skeins here, which the small one calls for like 500 yards of yarn, so just over a skein really. This is also a little bit smaller than the weight, like, I mean, it's fingering weight, but for the yardage in the 100 grams, I'm pretty sure these are 100 grams, yeah. I think the original yarn was about 400 yards per 100 grams, and this is 462 yards per 100 grams. So this is a little bit thinner, but I'll just make sure that I use whatever I need to get gauge. But I think I'm going to modify it so that it falls somewhere in between the small and the large. Because I think, I mean, it'll depend. I won't really know until the clues come out since it is a mystery crochet along. But I think I could just add sections. At least that's what I'm hoping. Again, I feel much more comfortable doing this with a crochet pattern than with a knit pattern, just because I have a pretty good understanding of the construction of crochet, and I feel like it would be pretty, I'm not going to say easy, but I feel like it would be attainable to make the modifications to do an in-between size. So That is my goal with this pretty yarn. And I do have the beads. Recommended or glow in the dark, which is awesome. And so I have some glow in the dark seed beads coming. And I do have hooks that are small enough to, she explains how to do it without, or she references to a video that does it where you don't have to thread the string, you can just do it as you go. So that'll be the method I do, and I have a hook small enough that should fit through the hole of the bead, as long as the listing was accurate in the diameter list for the hole. So we'll see when they arrive, but I have quite a few small hooks in a set that I think my mother-in-law got me. So I have like 0.25 millimeters up to, I don't know, very small, very teeny tiny hooks. So I think I'll be okay on that front, but it'll be fun. And it's cool because the one for this yarn starts September 1st, so not next week, but the week after. And then runs through September. I think there's like 6 clues, 4 clues. And then the knit along that I want to do doesn't start till October. So it would have been cooler if I decided on this sooner so that I could have gotten my button gear on the Superstitious Pullover, have that done by the end of August, have this for September, and have the other one for October. But it's okay. I think it'll be good. I definitely want to have this done for Halloween because this is very specific. The other one, it's like Halloween-y, but I think well, my colors will kind of, my colors will make it very Halloween-y, but the design itself is very, like, if you had, depending on your color choice, it could really fit for any time of year, to be honest. So yeah, that, I'm pretty excited for that. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I usually don't do very many crochet alongs. In fact, trying to think, I might have only done 1, 2. Yeah, I think the 2 that I've done have both been blankets. I think this is actually one that I did. This is my first one, I'm pretty sure. And then I did a stitch sampler that was a crochet along. And then I was starting a 3rd one and then didn't get very far into it, and then I kind of scrapped it. Yeah, I think that's all. So normally I'm in the middle of something else that I'm like, I don't really have time for that, even if it looks really cool and a lot of fun. But this time, or, you know, yarn is another thing. I don't have the yarn for it. But this time, with the time of year it is, and it's my favorite time of year, like, I'm gonna do it, and this way I have 1 knit, 1 crochet, and I sure hope no other crochet alongs or knit alongs come along in the next month or so that tempt me, because I've decided, I was trying to find Ravelry to see if people were teasing what they were gonna do for Halloween, and so far I haven't seen a whole lot, but I'm sure it's still too early for some people. So I'm just hoping I can stay committed and stay strong and not want to start all the things, because I don't have time to start all the things. Anyway, that is the Lift Your Spirits crochet along. And then lastly, I'm going to plug this here just in case. I don't know how many followers I have that are local to me, but I do have, I posted about it on Instagram this week. I will be teaching another crochet class next month, September 18th from 1 to 4 p.m. There is the Damon Barn in Uniontown. That is a really cool place. It has different rooms for artists, like studio spaces that people can rent and have their work there, and open to the public. And then they also do classes and events and things like that. So I will be teaching a beginner crochet class. You don't have to have any experience. I provide the supplies and we go through the basics of how to crochet. You will not walk out of it with a magnificent project of any kind, because it just takes, you know, like anything else, it takes time and practice and, you know, scarves and dishcloths and things like that are really good beginner projects. So by the time the class is over, you should have a basic understanding of how to do single crochet. I have a whole bunch of resources that I've put together for the past class that I taught, with like pattern suggestions and video tutorials and definitions for things, because it's just, even in 3 hours, originally I was going to try and teach this in 2, and in 3 hours it's just still not enough time to go over all the things that I would like to share with people and what I think is important for people to know. And maybe it's just me, but a lot of what I do, like, I need to understand a bunch of different things about the thing in order to like learn it. And so teaching crochet, over the years, there are things that I realized that I wish I would have understood when I was learning it, because, you know, you were just told that you needed to chain this amount before and skip, you know, this many before starting your row, but I never was told like why. And so it just didn't click in the way that it should, because I didn't understand the connections that were made along the way that gets you from, you do this because of this, you do that because of this. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's really important for me when I learn, and so I try to really break that down. And again, you don't always have time to go over it, but I have resources list that goes through kind of like the whys behind how things work. And then a lot of it's just going to be a lot of one-on-one. I think I capped the class size at like 4 or 5 students to keep it really small, so that I can spend time going around with everyone and just kind of assisting as needed, watching what's going on. There's a lot of just making chains and doing rows, because that's what you need to practice. So anyway, it was a lot of fun when I did it last time. It was right before COVID. I think I taught it February 2020, and it was a blast. At least on my side, I felt like things went well. So if you're local to the Pullman, Washington area and you would like to learn how to crochet, I will have the link below in the description for where you can get more information. And with that is really all I had to cover today, because my Sanderson, I keep wanting to call it Sanderson. That was the first name of it. But by the time the pattern released, the name was changed to Superstition Pullover. And I need to remember that. That's been taking a lot of my time. Well, no, I shouldn't say that. That's been my priority. So I've been trying to make good progress on that. In fact, I've probably done like 2 inches since the last podcast, and all of it was color work except for a few rows. So I feel pretty good about the progress I'm making there. And then of course my pumpkin was a detour last weekend that I didn't need, but I loved it anyway. So yeah, I think that's where I'll leave it. And thanks for joining again. Let me know if there's anything that you would like to hear me talk about in the future. I'd love to hear. I'm kind of trying to I modify my sections kind of based off of other podcasts and other topics that I've seen people talk about. Not necessarily everything that other people talk about, but like the basics for like the fiber podcasts. But I don't know if there's anything else that you'd be interested in hearing about. Let me know. I'm happy to hear it. So talk to y'all soon.